we're going to continue with this tonight. So that's the seahorse. None of this was, see all that line work, that wasn't there before. You wouldn't have seen that even if you've watched the previous ones. I've put all that in between since the last one. So I've been drawing all that in, and as we go down the tail, a bit on the tail, and just move my pencil out of the way. And that's kind of where we started. The flowers at the bottom of the tail, and I've added that as well. So there's some more flowers there. I'm going to just sketch a few more in, and then I'll do some more inking. But that's what we've got so far. So there's still a lot more to go, but she's looking, this seahorse is looking pretty. So I decided I was going to do patterns in the seahorse and just put the florals on the outside, but I've changed my mind. I ended up putting the patterns on the inside, and there will be gold. I'm going to do some gold on this as well. So once I'm finished with the inking, all this, I'm going to do some gold work in there too. And I'll add a bit of texture with the gold as well. Not texture as in to touch so much, but you know, I was thinking of putting some speckles on the fin of the seahorse and things like that. So this is where we're at, and I'll just go over quickly again what I was using, because with the previous ones people would have seen that on here when I was shading those in. I'm using the main two colours inks, Copic inks. They're the brush pens. So on one end they've got, like, there's the brush tip, which is flexible, so when it touches the surface, see how it moves a bit. Okay, so that's what I've been using, and the other side of these guys are like that, like a calligraphy end. So I'm using these two colours. One's light pale sepia, and one's sepia. So there's the numbers for you. Okay, and they give this almost like a burnt look, like pyrography. And I have used the Faber-Castell Pitt pen. All of these are water resistant, so they're perfect for this. And that's Indian ink in this one. So that's a very, very dark one. So I've used a little bit of that, but not a lot. And the line work, when I first start doing all this stuff here, I'm using a Staedtler Tri Plus Fine Liner, this brown one. And that's what I've been using for that. And then just when I sketch up, when I just lay in a few shapes before I start drawing, I'm just using a 6B, which is, a 5B, which is a very soft lead pencil. So you're not going to scratch into the surface of the wood with the lead. It's nice and soft, and it's easy to erase once you use that. And a blender. Look, I got this off eBay, so I don't know. There's the brand. Okay, so I think you can get Copic blenders too, but it's basically clear fluid that you can just blend the Copics with, or the ink with. So I use that in these sort of areas where I didn't want to cover too much of the wood, and that's what I've used. So they're the tools that I'm using at the moment, and I'm going to continue and jump straight in over here. Let's see, over here, and I'll move around, and I'm doing some roses over here. And anyone that's drawn flowers knows that roses are probably the hardest flower to draw. But I've put in some light, you'll see I've put in some light guidelines already. So I did that just quickly before I jumped on. So this is my photos that I've just done in black and white. I'm using those as reference, but I'm not stressing about doing exactly. I'm just using it as as a base to draw from. So, okay, we'll do a little bit of drawing and then I'll do some inking and show you the inking. And please share if you share it around, if you to your wall or whatever, and let people know. And if you haven't seen the previous ones, they are still on my page at the moment. We started with a basic drawing lesson just to get the basics down if you're not familiar with drawing. And don't think you can't. It's actually quite a, when it's explained, it's not as difficult as you think. So if you've always wanted to learn a little bit about drawing, the very first one I did will give you a starter. So today's all been about tables today because I've been stenciling at the top of a desk today, and now this one. I really like these fine liners. They I use them in my bullet journaling, and I use the black ones a lot for drawing. So if you see my drawings on my page, the quotes that I illustrate, and any ink work, probably most of that is a black version of this pen. They're fine, but they're not scratchy, and they're fine enough to do some really nice line work. And if you want to thicken up the line, you can. Gives you room to do that instead of getting too thick too quick. Hi Alison, hi Pauline. Did you seal the top first? No, Alison, it's raw. In fact, I didn't actually prepare this. I picked this up already sanded. Somebody's removed the lacquer or whatever was on it, and they've sanded, but when they've done it, they've damaged the tabletop, and they've sanded through. I'll just whiz down and show you. They've sanded through, you see there, right through. So the table was damaged, and can you see the stains? So it had some stains, and it had this, and that's a burn there. I've deliberately put a leaf over that burn. So although it had some really nice pattern in it, which I really wanted to keep, it was too damaged to keep. So that's why I've gone, well, I might just do this to it. And if I cover, you know, with all these designs, if I cover the faults in it, you get the best of both worlds. You get a nice design over it, but I'll still be left with probably, I'll leave about a third uncovered. I'm going to frame it in the design and deliberately cover these marks. The face of that seahorse was particularly stained, so you probably can see it if you look. See, it's all blotchy, but now I've got this design over it. That'll completely hide all that fault. So, but yes, it's raw wood that I'm painting. It's quite hard. I don't know what it is. It's a veneer, obviously, but it's quite hard when I feel it. So being hard too, I think it's less likely to with the ink to seep out and bleed as I'm inking. So I'm not sure how clean the lines would be on a softer wood. But this is a project I had sitting there for a very long time. I've painted all the bases done, finished. It's in a cream and gold. So it's a very light base. And I was initially going to like whitewash it and try and just cover the faults in it, but I looked at it and thought, oh no, I don't think that's going to work. You know, I think it's a bit hard to cover up the really obvious ones like the burn and that, because I mean in the end you want it to be a really good result. You don't want it to be faulty. When you upcycle, it's nice to have the quirks and the character and of old pieces, particularly antiques and that, but you don't want it to look, you know, wrong, like it's not, like it's damaged or something. So if you're watching now and you don't get any of the notices, I've got a setup where if you message my page with the word angel, I've got like an automated little angel bot that will answer you and subscribe you to just notifications. So when I go on, you get a warning. I am going on fairly regular at the moment on the Thursday night with this project, but there are other times that I jump on and do a live and I let people know, so you can do that. Also, if you're interested in the teaching stuff I've got coming up, I haven't got all the details. I can't share all the details just yet, but if you are interested, just comment below teach me, just write teach me, and I'll add you to a notification thing, so when it all becomes available, you'll get the heads up first. So I know that some of you are waiting very patiently for that. So I'm just thickening some of the lines. It's actually nice with drawing, right? With line work, it's nice to have some variation of line. It just makes a more interesting drawing. So I like to do that in general when I'm drawing. My angel bot works well. That's good. I haven't. It was actually a very, very challenging thing for me to do, to set up, to be honest. They can do some wonderful things. It really helps me to manage everything, but it is quite complex to set them up, and I haven't quite finished doing everything. I really want to make it so that I can help people, direct people to information really quickly, and that too. But I'm not quite there, but we've got the live notifications happening anyhow. Hi, I hope I pronounced your name right. Is it Wadsi? I'm not very good at pronunciation, so, but hello and welcome to the live. So there's the rose. In the picture, that's all that's on it, but I'm going to add some more petals because I just needed that to be a bit fuller, I think. And then I'm going to put a leaf on it. And I'll move it over a little bit further. Okay. So this is very stained here, and I'm going to add an open rose to that. This is so much fun. Personally, I'd be happy to just draw on everything. Takes a lot of time, but But drawing is probably one of my favourite things. So I'm going to use the outline of some of these stains as petals. So I know my hand's in the way a bit here, sorry about that. So we just had hard rubbish in our area this week, all the surrounding areas, and oh my goodness people, you should have seen what people threw out. It's like, oh, it was so hard. It was so hard to watch. I'm seeing all this furniture, you know, really good, like a lot of it, there was nothing wrong with it. It's just obviously doesn't suit people's decor or anything anymore, and you know, I'd see it and I think, oh my goodness, what I could do to that, you know, what I could make from that. It's going down the tip. It's going to end up in landfill. Those trees, that's it. That's the end of those trees and the life of those trees and all that beautiful wood furniture. I you know, would have loved to have adopted more than I did. I did actually grab, as you see on my page. I did get a couple of treasures, but I had to just ignore the rest. But there was antique chair sets and all sorts of stuff. So when the truck came, I just cringed as I heard all sorts of furniture hit the bottom of that truck. So you wouldn't ever know that stain was there now. Okay. It's best to get the pencil line off before you do the inking too, because the ink kind of dissolves the pencil a bit, and then it dirties up the ink if you don't get it off at this stage. Take this as big as I wanted it, really. So this bit here, that's another stain. I'm actually going to do the same thing with that and actually use it. Alison's asking where I come up with the ideas. Alison, I think it's just improvisation. I started doing furniture out of necessity years ago. You know, money was always tight, and so, I mean, even when it comes to things like cooking and things like that, you know, when you've got to watch the budget and you've only got so much you can buy or cook with, or you've got to be inventive. So creativity often comes out of a place of necessity. So it just becomes a way of life, I guess, and problem solving. So, and sometimes making a challenging situation fun. But I've always drawn. So ever since I was a young kid, I loved doing crafts and art, and I was always making stuff. I was probably, as a teenager, a little bit of a loner, because I would much prefer to be hiding away, squirreling away in my room drawing. And I had a cousin come and stay with us when I was in, what would I be? I was just about to go into year 10, I think, so year 9. And she drew, my cousin Debbie. She came and stayed with us for about 6 months. And she drew, and I was just like, right there and then I felt like that's really what I wanted to do. And when I was 16, I wanted to illustrate a children's book. That was my dream, to illustrate a children's book. So drawing and art's been a part of my life, and whenever I get an opportunity to sneak it into anything I'm doing, that's what I try and do. So it's always, even on the furniture, I mean, ultimately I want to do more and more artwork on furniture rather than just the painting part of it. I love doing all the paint finishes. I'll have to do that one again because I was talking. Paint finishes, but you know, I'm really wanting to do full-on artwork on the furniture. So it's a matter of balancing the teaching with the custom orders, with the jobs that I want to do to challenge myself. And obviously this kind of thing takes hours and hours more than just painting a table or staining a tabletop. So as a business, to sell it, obviously you'd have to charge more, wouldn't you? So the audience for that narrows, I guess. You can't exactly churn out too many of these at the same time, you know, quickly, can you? But this year, my intention is to do a lot more. So I've got the inks open now. So this is the light one. I'll start with the light one. And we'll get some ink happening. So that's what you will see from me this year. Paintings on furniture and things like that, because that's, I promised myself last year that I would be doing that soon, and I have got pieces set aside for that. Particular pieces that I want to do some pretty elaborate artwork on. So while I do stencil and things like that, I do feel like when I'm doing it, I would love to be actually hand painting designs. And like with this one, I haven't, you'll notice I haven't done a whole design of roses or a whole design of daisies or whatever. I've got different flowers all over it, and that keeps me entertained because I'm drawing something different instead of the same thing over and over again. So I've never been one for repetition, and I think that's why the furniture, the upcycling furniture appeals to me too, because it's rare that I do the same thing twice, even with the furniture. And I deliberately choose furniture. When I purchase furniture, I deliberately choose unique furniture, and furniture that may be the first and last time I get it. You know, some things are more common, but I try and do something different on them, even if they're more common. I think that's probably a long way of saying I get bored easy. So this is the darker colour going in there. And the darker colour gives it definition, or more definition. So if anybody actually has a go at this, I'd love to see what you do. I'm hoping it does inspire you to have a go. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't probably be sharing it, I guess. The idea is to encourage everyone to have a go. I think that's at the heart of every teacher, to inspire and encourage others. So I have actually, well, I have filmed part of it. I think my iPad got interrupted in the middle of it, but I have filmed part of the in-between last week's that I did off camera, or off live camera, and I'll put it together and I'll speed it up and share it on the page. Allison's saying she definitely want to go to try it, but she doesn't want me to see her attempt. I don't want this to be intimidating. I actually love to see other people's. I mean, it can even be privately. I just would love to see. I'm not going to judge. I just get really encouraged when I see it has inspired somebody to have a go, because like I've heard so many people have said to me, oh, I can only draw stick figures, and it's actually it makes me sad in a way, because I get so much enjoyment out of, say, my bullet journaling, and you're just doodling in a bullet journal, and I think that's why the scrapbooking the scrapbooking craze took off, because it is very rewarding to be able to do a little bit of drawing or a little bit of creative stuff, and that's why I did this. I thought, well, if I set out just the basic drawing to start with, help start, and everybody's at a different stage, it might encourage others to have a go. So, and you've got to start somewhere too, and you might surprise yourself, Allison. You should see. I'm going to dig out some of the photos of some of my students in the past. I used to teach painting and years ago, and I'd have students that didn't think they could do much at all, and within a very short period of time were doing beautiful portraits and all sorts of things. So you just, unless you have a go, you may surprise yourself. Oh, well, what's here? It does take a bit of practice. But look, you're seeing it. Like, you're seeing it in action, how I've done it. And if you go back, if you haven't seen the first one, go back and have a look at the first one. And that explains how I lay out a drawing. And it looks complicated, but really everything is shapes broken down. If you break things down into shapes and angles, you can pretty much draw anything. I might do it quicker, but because I'm practiced more, but really it's not, perhaps not, don't start with a rose, but everything is a basic shape. Like this petal is pretty much a rectangle, you see that? So when I start drawing a rose, I start with a circle, and then I break it down into smaller shapes and angles, and until I get each piece. But really everything is just basic shapes, triangles, squares, ovals, sausage shapes and things like that in combined to make a picture. So I'm just going to drag that back, just check the time. So there's a few people that probably jumped on recently. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a roll tour of our seahorse, where we're up to. So, worth a heart, guys. There's the flowers in the head. And we're over here tonight. And there's his fin at the back and his tummy. Hang on, I've got stuff in the way of my little, in the tail. Long ways to go, but there's all the flower work over there. So that's where we're at the moment. So where are we for time? Okay, we've got a few more minutes, but not, I promised my husband a movie. So we'll just go in here because I want to work this one. I've put those little lines there because this is like a negative shape one. It's not so obvious. So they're the tops of the seeds and all of that is the seed head. But what I'm going to do is just have them as little highlights. This is going to be a fairly dark center on this one. Most of the others I've gone in with the lighter ink. But this one I'm just using the black. I stopped mid-sentence then, didn't I? I'm using the darker one first, is where I was going with that. And with little seeds or little stamens and that, sometimes you only need to draw a few. You don't have to do every single one. And the rest you just give it an impression. And it gives you a little bit more of a realistic look than drawing every single one. It's the same if you were drawing fur on an animal. You don't necessarily have to do every bit of fur or even on a person. You just you do a few in detail and the rest you kind of give an impression. It's a weird sound. I don't know what that is. So this is a similar effect to the staining, the stain art, wood stain, which is what I was going to do initially. I was going to use wood stain, and you could. And even instead of using a couple of different colours, you could use a diluted one colour and just dilute it for the light colour. And have either two mixtures that you're using, one more diluted than the other, or I lost my train of thought then. Two mixtures, yeah, mixed up, or mix as you go. I mean, with any artwork, it's not advisable to have it in direct sunlight, you know, in a window, direct sunlight or something. But this is, I mean, this is a coffee table. This is going to go in the center of a lounge room, so it's not going to be in a window. And the and that's Indian ink, so you're right. And yes, Alison's saying that you could paint over it if you make a mistake. Exactly. And if you're doing a piece, that's exactly how you look at it. And Alison actually, in one of the other, I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been the first inking one, because this is the third on the inking. But the very first one that I started to ink, I made a mistake, or a couple of mistakes, I think. And then I showed you how I corrected the mistake. So, because if you start light and you're going to work back, and you make a mistake in the lighter colour, you're kind of easing your way into it, and then you can cover it up with the darker inks. And depending what sort of design too, I mean, look at the way I'm covering up the stains with the ink. So in effect, they're kind of like a mistake. But you draw everything out first with a pencil, and as much as you need. I only do very kind of loose lines because I'm confident enough to go in straight in with the ink, because when I draw I often don't even bother with a pencil, I go in with the ink. But that's through, you know, that's through practice, and I've been drawing for decades. And so, but I mean, you can put as many guidelines as you want in first to make sure that you feel confident when you're going in. And you could practice on, I mentioned this last time, and I actually saw somebody doing a lot of them, so I think they might have watched the video, but I mentioned last time wooden chopping boards are good. You could buy some cheap wooden chopping boards for, you know, from Big W or Kmart or something, and practice on that. It doesn't cost you much to give it a practice run. And once you get a feel for it, you won't be as intimidated. But this is certainly much easier than controlling a brush with stain. Especially if you get yourself a blender. And you don't have to do the brown, you could do any colour that you like too. These Copics come in every conceivable colour. Like my sets, I think, it might be 72 in my set. I'll just break that up a bit. How's that look?